Christians should learn to forgive each other as Christ forgave us. But when it comes down to government is appointed by the people to rule, to maintain order. And when it comes down to maintaining order, you've got to look at what the standards of justice are and make sure that we are consistent in our standards of justice. Yeah, just a word about the whole capital punishment issue. That's been in the news and been a subject of much of the public chagrin over the spate of violence and crime in our neighborhoods and communities. Listen, I'm in support of capital punishment, not because it's on the books, but simply because in Genesis 9:6, the word says, "Whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed." The Hebrew word for punishment is payment. It is not. Capital punishment was never designed to rehabilitate. That's the wrong idea. It doesn't. There's nothing about instituting capital punishment will rehabilitate people. It's not going to rehabilitate them. It's not going to help them be better. It is simply a statement that God instituted, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That's in the Old Testament. Jesus did not say do away with that. Christians should learn to forgive each other as Christ forgave us. But when it comes down to government is appointed by the people to rule, to maintain order. And when it comes down to maintaining order, you've got to look at what the standards of justice are and make sure that we are consistent in our standards of justice. Payment. The capital punishment is not just to punish the person. They're not going to learn anything from it. It's payment. It's equalizing what has been done wrong with a similar wrong being done to you. We've heard this before in the writings of Malcolm X. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, an arm for an arm, and a head for a head. Justice calls for an equality, a level playing field. Right now, the thugs and the criminals have all the rights and they get all the privileges, and we are sitting there trying to feed them, clothe them, put them in prison and all that. Listen, when you take someone's life without merit or without reason, and you're not defending yourself, you just don't like that person or you just hate them so much that you kill them, then you give with you pay with your life. It's payment. You're paying it back into the universal balance of equality. You're paying with your life for what you have done in taking someone else's life unwantonly. And so with all the craziness that's going on now, we need a collective awareness that we have strayed as a nation. We've got to understand that when we stray as a nation, we get away from what God has said and we are not following his rules and his laws. Law was there for a reason. And if you trace the Old Testament, when the Israelites came out of Egypt, they didn't go straight into the Promised Land. They had to go by Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai was where they got the law. Our problem is we have forgotten the importance of law. Without law, you have anarchy. And right now, what we've got on these streets is anarchy. We've got lawlessness. The gun is not the law. Everybody buying a gun doesn't balance the equation. Government's got to play its role and maintain the balance of equality of justice. Justice, remember those scales? They got a balance. You have to have a balance between innocent and guilty, between good and evil. You got to maintain that balance. Otherwise, you will not maintain order. If you lose your balance with justice, then you lose the balance of order. So I hope that this will help us think through what needs to be done. Amen.